We're going live. Almost there. All right. So, good evening, everyone. Hello. On behalf of Halam International Educators, a warm welcome to all our live stream viewers, educators, and everyone joining us today. We are happy to have you for this important and interesting discussion. I'm pleased to introduce Halam International Educators, an online platform comprised of alumni from Sheffield Hallam University with postgraduate qualifications in education. With diverse experiences and roles in the field of education, we are here to share our ideas and perspective, raise some awareness, and exchange thoughts with you. So today we are talking about an important topic. It's a timely topic, the digital shift in higher education, opportunities and challenges beyond the classroom. As technology transforms the way we teach and learn, it is essential to understand both the advantages and the difficulties that come with it. So, recent data shows how rapidly the digital education is expanding. Especially in the UK, over 90% of universities now use digital tools, and 80% says it offers more flexibility for students. Whereas in India, the online education market is expected to reach over $10 billion, which is 100 billion rupees, by 2025, growing around 20% each year. So globally, more than 70% of students now prefer online courses that are either partly or fully online, reflecting a major shift in learning habits. However, as educators, we all see the areas of discussion somehow, both the challenges and the opportunities. So we would like to explore and share it here. So today we are focusing on three main areas in this topic: the biggest challenges in online learning and how to address them, and the advantages and the disadvantages of online learning, accessibility and the potential drawbacks, and also the ways to make online learning more engaging and successful. So I would like to invite Helen from Sheffield Hallam University alumni team, who has valuable experience in these areas, to share her insights and perspectives on this topic. I warmly encourage all the members of the team to join the discussion and contribute your thoughts as we explore this important subject together.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Helen.
Thanks, Sumana. That was a super introduction there. I think you're quite right. It's a very interesting topic and it's a very timely topic, isn't it? I'll just explain a little bit about where I sit within this area, really. So I teach in higher education in Sheffield Hallam University. I teach on a degree course, but I also teach a foundation year course. And I've been teaching in higher education since 2015, so a decade of teaching in this sector. And I can honestly say the digital online learning aspect of the teaching that I do has only really come to the fore in the past 5 years. And the timing of that will be really apparent to everybody. What happened 5 years ago? COVID hit us, didn't it? So although the idea of digital and online learning has been there for a very long time, since the development of, the internet and all of that, it's been there as an idea, as a way of increasing access to learning. But really the huge shift that we saw only happened in England anyway, only really happened when we experienced COVID. And we could say fortunate, we could also say unfortunate enough to have been teaching at that time when that happened. So prior to COVID, we had access to online teaching platforms like Microsoft Teams, for example, things like Zoom, the platform that we're using now. But I can honestly say it was very rarely used for direct online delivery. And just to clarify, that's really what I'm talking about today. It's the sort of live synchronous teaching online rather than other aspects of digital learning, such as virtual learning environments that people might use at universities. So I'm talking about that kind of real face-to-face on-screen live teaching, like a session that we're doing now where I would be delivering content. And certainly prior to COVID, that wasn't something that I had ever experienced. And then I distinctly remember that very first week of COVID happening and being told, we're going to have to shift online and do everything online, thinking, oh my gosh, how is this going to work? What's going to happen? And of course, so we had to very quickly learn new skills, new methods of delivery, and so on. That continued all the way through COVID. So I taught a whole cohort of students who were completing an access course to higher education. I taught their whole year online and didn't actually meet any of them in person. So that was a really interesting experience. So I feel that that gave me an insight into a lot of the challenges and, you know, a lot of the benefits of doing it that way. More recently, though, we've begun to acknowledge in higher education that online learning in this way can open up opportunities. So it can increase accessibility for some students. So we're recognizing that there are advantages to it. And I think one of the key drivers is that it makes learning quite an efficient process. So it is being really directly encouraged in universities because of that efficiency. You know, the less need to travel, for example, sustainability, the use of buildings, things like that. So it's definitely becoming a very core part of curriculum. And certainly where I teach, it is now structured as part of the curriculum design. So just to give an example of real experience, I taught a module last semester where the students would be in university for 2 sessions per week, but a third session every week would be online, and they would have 3 hours of delivery online, and that's going to continue. And so it's here, it's happening. But the reason I really wanted to discuss it as an issue now is because there are so many challenges with it, so many challenges as well as opportunities. And it's that really that I would like to get kind of into. And I think the first question that we have to look at is, what are the challenges? What are the key challenges? And how can we overcome them? So, I mean, I can certainly share what I view as the challenges, but it would be interesting to hear if any of our collaborators here today have experienced online teaching themselves. Have you been a recipient of online delivery? And if so, you know, what challenges have you experienced? That would be really good to hear. I can give one example straight away, and we saw it as we were joining this call today to have our discussion, is that straight away we are met with technical challenges when it comes to accessing online learning. So, you know, the mic won't work, the camera won't work, my Wi-Fi dropped out for a moment, so I wasn't able to connect. And the reality is that is one of the huge challenges that we face. So when I was getting a group of students together, slowly the screen would fill with names, and then names would disappear, and then they would pop back. And I'm speaking with people where I can't see their faces. And so it creates a kind of distance between the teacher and the learner. and it creates a certain level of stress around getting the learning underway, which is not present when we're face to face in the classroom. So I would cite that as just one example of the challenges. Can I just ask if anybody here has had experience of learning online in this way before I go any further? Hi, is that
Hi,
really?
Helen.
Hi, Nue.
Oh yeah, sorry. I can't open the camera. Please don't mind. But let me share some of my experience.
No
So because
problem.
I also say I've been I wanna compare the situation in the Burma concerning the online education. So it's I've been facing around about 3 years in Burma since the COVID start, and like the parents, they are really scared of sending their children to the physical school. So I exactly have a 3 year experience of online teaching. So at the moment, the most challenges in Burma about online teaching and learning is at how to go, I think like the digital device, because not all the uh, children in Burma they don't have a tablet, a phone, or the laptop. So, but even they have the phone or they have the phone, but I really don't think this little small screens as the children can do properly. And another thing is it is for the teacher, it's really hard to get the attention of and moreover, so and then for me, like I said, it is really difficult to like I said, uh or remove the distraction of the their home, because like I said, they are living in their homes. Like I said, we can't control fully of the children, but like there's some parents like that, they really have an understanding. But for some parents like they just leave their kids alone or with their mate or something. So these are some of the problems that I face when I did the online teaching.
Yeah, thank you, Nue. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. So I'm talking about higher education, but the same issues and same challenges exist across different levels of education, don't they? And so absolutely the technology, the inequality in access to devices, access to stable Wi-Fi, because I understand that can be a real issue in Burma, can't it? That the Wi-Fi being stable, even the electricity supply, things like that. So we've got an inequality there, haven't we? And that's definitely something that I've experienced in higher education. Even if students do have a device, it might not be compatible with the software that we're using. So they might experience what I'm delivering very differently from another student who has a different type of device. So we see that inequality for sure. And certainly the distractions, that's definitely another challenge. Because, in a classroom, we can see physically what people are doing. We can see if they're busy looking at something else or on their phone, or they've got to go out of the room or whatever. And certainly I know that when I've done online classes myself, I've been the recipient of the teaching. It's very easy to get distracted in the home environment, isn't it? So thank you for raising those challenges. And I quite agree with all of them. Anyway, I can see that you've got your hand raised, Monica. Did you want to say something?
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Please pardon me. I can't just on the screen like paint in my video. Yeah, I do
Hi.
agree with you about the digital inequality and the way Nive has delivered it. Yes, the focus issue and the extra amount the parents have to put in purchasing that particular gadget. It could be a cell phone or the iPad or a laptop. And I feel the most challenging is the online digital security. What I meant is like there is no barrier for the children to what type of a content they will be watching, so that no matter how much even the universities or for the higher education or for the people who are in primary or in the middle age school, it is definitely a challenge even now. The content is not being secured, and I don't think so. It still needs a lot of improvement. Helen, what I want to say, the digital
Yeah,
security, what I would say. So
of
we
course.
are, yeah, we try to give them good knowledge, but if you open up the internet, it's like kind of an ocean. So there are 90% chances of the kids to go, in a different way. So I feel like the
Yes.
digital security, because parents are not aware of it. Maybe the universities are aware. So before we go online, even the parents should be, educated regarding how to do it, what settings they have to go and opt it out and all. That's what I say. That's the biggest challenge. What I
Yeah.
feel it. Yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I completely agree. Thank you. And I think it's sort of you're looking at it from that perspective of a teacher of children. And I think you're right to acknowledge that there's a whole nother level there that has to be considered, which is the safeguarding of children. And that can be related to the content that they're able to access because they're doing their learning through these digital methods, these devices. It means that they are closer to that, isn't it? But also, I think if they're part of online scenarios, such as Nue was talking about, where they're learning with a teacher online at home, there are safeguarding issues there, just in the sense that they're in their own personal space. What are they there for? They have to share things that they might not necessarily want to share. Not everybody's comfortable with sharing their home environment, for example. So we have these wonderful background screens that we can put on, but not everybody's in an environment that's a good space to do that online learning. So we've got yet another challenge there. So access to content that we might not want young people to see, but also, the environment that they're in, and keeping them safeguarded and keeping them safe. Yeah. So again, another challenge, really difficult things to overcome. So I think, have we got another point that, is it,
Yeah, we
Sathavan?
we have got a
Yeah,
raised hands up.
hey, hi guys.
Hi
Hello.
there.
Yeah, hi. Nice to see you all. I'm a software engineer now in the software industry for almost 19 plus years. I echo and I agree with Monica, what she is mentioning. Note that the digital education is a big transformation, the revolution that has taken place, and it is now getting reached to even to the kids who are in a primary school after the COVID, what you mentioned before. I totally agree. It is a drastic shift that has been taking place. No doubt, we, the people who are in 30, 40s, we have already tasted that, and we know how to use, what not to use, what to use, that we know are conscious. But this child, these very sweet, delicate minds who are just, 10 years, 8 years, the distraction is quite obvious for them. The reason, there is no monitoring that is not, it's not happening to the level that it has to be happened. As being me, a software engineer, what I suggest, instead of intranet is a closed circuit. It's like a closed circuit where they can
Yes.
access only the particular thing during the particular time. And even there are certain tools which monitor what type of browsers or what of the content they're opening. That is a recorded thing that gives an audit report for every week. The admin can take out during the studies what are the tabs or what are the contents, what are the websites they open, they're looking at, because they need a controlled hand in a controlled environment where they can slowly shift, they become responsible. These people are
Yeah.
like a molding mutts. We want how we mold, they become like that. So I never judge kids for what they're watching. I'll judge and I point out to the adults or the organizations who are giving access to that. No, digital education is slow, flexible. We can access from anywhere. We can learn out of box. At our time, we used to run for the books, to buy the books, and we used to stop at that point when the full stop comes. Okay, my studies are done. Now the kids are not like that. They're going out of box. They have that flexibility. They have that point where they can go and study, and they can, now the artificial intelligence has came up, chat GPT.
Of
Even the teacher
course.
is now getting replaced with the AI most of the times. So they should
Of
know what to
course.
ask. Who is asking? Because chat GPT don't know whether it is a 11-year guy is typing or a 40 years man is typing to ask the question.
Yes.
So what I
Yeah.
feel, there are certain measurements that university schools have to take in, the cybersecurity and the monitoring tools, so that the digital education is like a weapon. It's like a weapon, it's like a nuclear energy using to light the lamp, not hit the enemy.
Of course. Yeah, that's a great metaphor to use. Yeah, thank you for that input. And I think by identifying that it's about the sort of limitations that we put around and the monitoring and the how that digital world is set up and how it's created. I think that's a fantastic point. I think it also links to one of the other challenges, which is that I've got noted down here for myself, which is that I think that teachers don't necessarily always have the skills and the knowledge to do exactly that. So I know, just giving the example of COVID as a thing, when we had to very quickly learn how to run a class on Microsoft Teams, and how to play videos through it and how to stop them and etc. Knowing how to put these firewalls and these safety nets around the students that we're working with requires a level of knowledge, IT knowledge, IT skill, competency that I certainly didn't have. I like to think I've got a little bit more now, but still it's not my comfort zone when it comes to teaching. I have to rely on other more knowledgeable people. And that's definitely one of the challenges, that we're trying to create a learning environment which is engaging, interesting, safe. And to do that, we need to know how to operate the software, the platforms that we've got. So that I personally find that particularly challenging. And because it changes so rapidly, as you're saying, the introduction of AI has now added another layer of complexity for us as teachers,
Yeah,
which I find very
the
challenging.
teachers also should be get trained on how to deliver, how to educate the kids. The teachers should get trained on those. The reason when we complete our lesson, I'm once upon a time a teacher, physics and maths teacher, long before, not 2000. I teach it in 2000. So what I can say, at the last 10 minutes or the 5 minutes, there are certain values that we need to indulge into the students. We
Mhm.
teach morals, how to be, how not to be. Now in this world, we have to even teach them how to use, what not to use when you get a gadget into your hand.
Yes.
Slowly that morals, that values, when we indulge into the students, it becomes a part of their brain thought process, that I should have values. I should use a thing aptly and correctly, very precisely. So that should be a part of school education, I feel. Because see, we teach science, maths, but science, maths, English, social, those all are connected to human living again.
Yeah. Yeah. I quite agree. Yeah.
What I feel we need to have, we need to take the 5 or 6 minutes, just deliver a lesson. So this is what I have done. So this is what I got when I used it properly. I think you will use it. It should be an open-ended question. So the kids will start
Yes.
thinking, oh, okay, my teacher has used it so good. So she's very good. She's in a good position. So I have to
Yeah.
use like that. That
Quite. Yeah.
open-end question is always useful, I feel. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel that's a great suggestion, a great recommendation. Thank you. Samana, would you just steer us back towards the next question, the of the three questions that we had, please?
Yes, Helen. So
Thank
I think
you.
we all have challenges, like many challenges we have faced, and we have got so many points to talk about, but due to time constraint, we just moved to the next area of discussion. I think, in what ways has online learning improved access to higher education? And do these benefits outweigh potential drawbacks such as reduced face-to-face interaction? So if you guys have thoughts about it.
Thank you. Yeah. In terms of accessibility, I think that was one of the driving forces behind like online learning, was that it would mean that people would not be limited by travel, for example, you know, and the costs that are implied with that, for example. So I think from my experience, students have said to me, I really like it when I've got an online class because I can just stay at home, I'm comfortable, I can do the learning. Another aspect that they've talked about is the fact that sessions are usually recorded. Most sessions are recorded, which means if they are parents, for example, they don't have to join the live session, they can listen to the recording afterwards, and they can do that while they're busy in the house doing other things. Now, whether that's the best conditions for learning is another question, but you can see how that could be helpful in terms of being able to access the learning. I also think in terms of equality, there may be students, and this could apply to children as well, but there may be students who for example, have a disability, which means that they can't physically access the campus for whatever reason. And so we can see how that could open up opportunities. That's my experience. It does open up opportunities. However, the question sort of asks, does that outweigh the challenges and the difficulties that we can come across? And I think that's a slightly harder question to answer. Has anybody had any experiences where they've been able to access something because it's been provided in an online sort of platform or a digital version of learning, maybe a course or something that they've attended? Has anybody found that that's increased their accessibility to learning?
Well, I would say, like, again, Helen, it might depend on the person. So depend on the student, depend on the person who is learning. If they respond better with the, this kind of learning, it will drive them better. So like, I was really thinking when Samana came up with this question, I was like, we can't really tell whether it's outweighed or not. Basically, I would say we need to be a little bit more open-minded about children have many different ways of learning, not children, even us. Like I always have thought myself, like I'm very old-fashioned. I want to have a teacher in front of me. Even when we were in class, you may notice that we ask for more classroom time. We want to be in touch with our lecturers. But the thing is, when we adapted to this kind of learning in a master level course to do this kind of self-study, these days there are more audiobooks. You can do something while you're listening to, information, and that really gave me a different feeling. And even when I needed for extra lessons, some days it was very cold and I didn't want to go out, and I could just stay in and join the Zoom when the teacher was teaching, or sometimes review the recorded version so I don't have to just commit to this. So I would say, just my opinion, for the little ones, we might need this human connection just to build around what the manners should be, how to be civilized in this digital world. Because like you mentioned, there are loads of things out there, and they can just simply do things easily rather than in physical, because there's no boundaries on internet. They can just do any kind of talk or inappropriate manners out there. We could not control that. But if they are taught when they were young in like primary, maybe in middle school and high school or secondary level, if they know how these safe or what is not safe sort of idea, if they become responsible adults, I think having an online digital platform would not be a problem. But again, depend on the person. Like personally, I love being in a classroom. even though I doze off sometimes, you know, but
We've all
then
been there.
yeah, but the recorded version kind of really got me along the way, and I thought, oh, that's not really bad, you know? So
Yes.
I would say we all will experience at some point with this kind of learning, but with the adult, I think we're not seeing so much problem. But when it comes to the children, I think we need human connection first to be able
Agree.
to
Yeah.
go to, you know, no matter how much AI is great, it just can't replace primary teachers. They're so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you've hit on a couple of things there actually that are quite significant. I mean, you know, we're talking about this being a method of teaching that's going to be really common, has become really common in higher education. So are we doing the things that we need to do for younger children to prepare them to feel comfortable and make that transition to higher education easy and more straightforward? So I think that's really important because we're shaping the future learners in higher education potentially, aren't we? So yeah, absolutely learning the etiquette and, you know, the how to do things. I think that's really, really important. But also recognizing that it's very individual. So what will work for some people will feel really comfortable talking with their face on a screen. Some people will feel really uncomfortable with that. And that's definitely what I've experienced. And the human connection part, well, if we want to create an environment where people feel that they can share their views and opinions, then they have to feel safe, don't they? Like creating a safe learning space is so important. Is it possible to do that if we're not meeting face to face, whether that's for children or adults? Like, how do we build that human connection without that initial face to face meeting? And in fact, my first week of teaching in September would naturally be online. And that worried me, actually, thinking, you know, the very first session that I might have with my students might be online. As it so happens, we have a fantastic array of welcome events where we welcome students to campus and we show them around. So I'm going to have a great opportunity to spend quite a bit of quality time with my students before we do the online classes. But, you know, that would be a concern if we didn't have that time to make that human connection. So they're really insightful points, Mimi. Thank you for those.
I've got
Great.
sorry, Helen, I've got a question here
Sure.
for you. So, since you have got an experience with both, you know, the little ones and the higher education as well. So, what do you think? Do you think that the face-to-face interaction impacts in both the age categories? Like, do you think it is really important to have that student engagement? How does it go with online?
I do. I mean, my experience of seeing younger children doing online learning only for me came through my daughter doing it while we were going through COVID and she was at home. And I would find it difficult to think that she could have adapted to that if she hadn't already built a very good relationship with her teacher in school through the face-to-face interaction. So from a personal perspective, I feel that the balance for younger people, for children, should be predominantly face to face. But I do also think that, going back to Mimi's point, that it should be built in actually more. Like it could be utilized more, particularly at secondary level. I don't know if we've got any secondary teachers here with us today, but at secondary level where students are perhaps revising for exams and things like that, this may already happen, but you know, using online workshops where they can be at home, but they can be revising with their peers and have a teacher present where they can ask questions. Maybe that happens already, I don't know. But again, they would already have that relationship.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I think particularly for younger people, predominantly face to face. But I don't know what other people's perspectives are on that.
Yeah. So I think it can lead to a sort of feeling of an isolation to younger ones, But even in students' perspective, even I feel like, we should have somebody right in front of us. Like as Mimi said, it's not a traditional thing, but I think it's sort of a connection with the teacher. Yeah. And it also depends on the age category and especially with the person to person. Right.
I've had situations where students have not wanted to speak on camera and they haven't wanted to have their cameras on. And I'm talking about sort of younger students here, sort of just post 16, so will have just left secondary school. And let's remember that young people of that age can feel very self-conscious. It's part of that developmental process, isn't it, of being that age. And therefore, as a teacher, you're trying to interact with somebody who is typing answers to a question in a comment section. And that doesn't give you a true reflection of that person, of their understanding of what you're talking about. It's stilted, isn't it? We know that. We have to try and interpret what people write to find out if it means the same thing. And also, it adds a huge layer of stress for you as the teacher, because whilst you're trying to, maintain this engaging classroom environment online, you're also trying to interpret and read people's answers, to moderate that, to make sure you've addressed those things. It's quite exhausting. From my perspective anyway. It's hard work.
Absolutely.
It's challenging. Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah. So Rekha, did you have something to tell?
Yes, just one thing I want to share here.
Yeah.
Like for every age group, I think so that offline platform is more comfortable. One important factor I want to mention here, that is the direct vicinity of the teacher, the students for teachers. That is really very important for them. And the eye contact. Eye contact matters a lot. That makes a bond between teacher and students. That is really I
Absolutely.
I
I
face actually.
completely agree.
I'm also a teacher. I teach 11th, 12th students biology. And today I conducted online session because there is a situation in Punjab. I belong to
Oh,
Punjab.
yeah.
That was
Okay.
really, yes. I had to take that online session. I was not willing to take. And students are also willing, ki, like, ma'am, it should be offline. It is not easy to learn, to make focus, to make the not just focus. I always realize in COVID time also, that is the bond between teacher and students. That vibrations from teacher to students and from students to teacher, that is really necessary.
I
That is what I wanted
agree.
to share. Yes,
How
thank you so
how
much.
did your online session go, Rika? And how did you feel about it? How did you feel about delivering it?
For my students, it is always like challenging for me. Sometimes some students they complain that audio is not visible, not so much great, or sometimes screen is not visible. Sometimes I also face challenges in, like today also. I was thinking I am recording the screen, then all of a sudden it was like screen sharing.
Yes, happens.
That was really some
This is what
challenge.
I feel I feel that, because those are the direct challenges, aren't they?
Yes,
You think you've
yes,
been
yes,
recording it and then you find that you haven't, and it adds a
Yeah.
layer of stress to teaching, doesn't it?
yes. Sometimes I am like, I am giving 20 points, but in the hassle, I am like, oh my God, 5 points. I left that.
Yeah,
That is the
thank you.
scene. So
Thank you for
thank you
sharing
so
that.
much.
It's good for us to be honest
Thank you
about
so
what it
much.
feels like, isn't it? I think. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
So I think
How are
all
we
the
for time, Sumana? Are we?
yeah. we are moving towards the next one, Helen. So we have spoken about the challenges and all the teachers, what they feel. And now we are looking into how can an online learning platforms be designed or improved to enhance student engagement and academic success in higher education. So we're looking into it, like what could be the features that we can incorporate to increase the student engagement or so.
Yes, thank you. I mean, we've had one suggestion already, haven't we, which is about focusing on intranet
Yes.
rather than internet, which I think is interesting. And I know most institutions have a virtual learning environment where that takes place, you know, those kind of platforms. I think that's important. What I'm curious to ask people's opinions on is around the length of a taught session if it's going to be online, because we've talked about that idea of it being difficult to remain engaged, and to limit distractions and things like that. I was teaching a 3-hour lecture online in the previous semester, and to do that I had to build in lots of breaks, lots of activities where students could go away and do something, read something, and then come back and feed back on it, for example. But that 3 hours felt like a very long time to maintain interaction and engagement and so on. So I'm just curious what people feel is like an appropriate amount of time for an online session. You know, what's manageable, and that could be for children or for adults, really. What do we think is an appropriate length of time for a digital session?
Maybe, sorry. Yeah, yes, Monica.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, Sumana, you can go ahead. I'll speak later.
No. Please go on. Please go on.
Yeah, as far as I know, being a mother of teenagers as well as being a teacher, I feel not more than 45 minutes, Helen. What I feel as a human being, we ourselves, like 15 minutes is the maximum which we can take. 15 minutes of theory and then an activity, and then again 15 minutes of theory and activity and done. According to me, being a teacher, and I have taken up classes during the COVID for mathematics. So this is what I felt it. After 45 minutes, you will go into like, oh my God, they started feeling the stress. Oh my God, I have to sit for so long. It's not just about sitting, I mean, not only just taking in what the teacher is saying. What about your back? What I meant was like your seating and all. You cannot sit for so long. I really appreciate 3 hours of session, Helen. I really want to know, like, how were you able to engage it? You are the
It
one
was
who has to
very
give us insights.
Yes, it was very challenging. Put it that way.
Definitely.
I think it's interesting that you say 45 minutes, Monica, because generally
Yeah.
speaking, that to me would feel like a comfortable amount of time because it could be broken into those quite clear sections. But 3 hours was very much I had to say to people when it was break time, please move away from your screens. Please go and look out of the window, walk around, get some fresh air, get a drink, because it's not healthy to be at a screen for that length of time. Our bodies need to move, don't they, to be
And they
healthy.
wouldn't, and were they interested to come back, Helen? Wasn't that challenge for you to few of the names you wouldn't see it on the screen?
Yeah, that was difficult, not knowing whether people had returned, what the reason for that was. And I know that this is just like a personal perspective as a teacher, but it's very disheartening to feel that you're not able to keep people interested, and that what you're doing is challenging them. So yeah, it's difficult, disheartening to look at an empty screen and be talking at it rather than talking directly to people. So we listened to feedback from students who said we quite like the online sessions 50-50, but they're too long. So next semester the sessions are going to be 90 minutes long. So your suggestion there of 45 minutes is interesting because obviously we could divide that 90 minutes in a quite a straightforward way, break it up and introduce different things. And also you mentioned 15 minutes
Yes.
as maybe like a magical kind of number, you know, like 15 minutes of something and then transition to 15 minutes of something else, or, you know,
Yeah.
direct interaction.
Practically. Yeah, with the practical experience, because I taught it for a year for the younger ones. So I was thinking like they were the mind focus capacity would not be more than 6 minutes. If you just, I read it in one of the research papers while I was doing the master's. So, like, after every 6 minutes, you go into this kind of, I don't know, a blank stage where the mind, so not more than 15 minutes should be the theory and then the activity. So I think it would help us
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
over. Thank you. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Thank you, Monica.
I think we all had great points and, very, very lively and interesting, engaging session, but time constraints. So
Yes.
thanks for sharing your thoughts and experiences, Ellen. It was really, thoughtful. So based on our discussion, I would like to draw some recommendation and conclusion on this. So making access fair for everyone. So creating some policies to ensure all students, no matter where they live or their economic background, have good internet and digital services. So, and also training teachers, which is really hard, of offering them training programs to help teachers learn how to use technology effectively in their classes is important. And also creating some relevant digital materials, developing online learning resources that fit the cultural and as well as educational needs for students in all the countries. It is important. And encouraging international teamwork. Let's say, for example, UK has got much better digital services than India. So supporting each other's partnerships between countries to share some ideas, research, and successful methods for digital learning is important. Tracking the progress, regularly checking how well digital programs are working and use the results to improve the future efforts. So moving to digital learning in higher education, it really offers a good chances to improve education both in India, UK, or whichever countries we discussed today. However, there are big challenges. The UK has better digital infrastructure, more experience with online teaching, which helps students stay engaged and succeed. Whereas in countries like India, the developing countries, it is growing quickly in this area. And both countries need to work on making sure all students can have access towards the digital tools, train teachers to use technology well, and also to develop learning materials that suit their students' needs. This way, more students can benefit from digital education. So, well, I think that's all about, we are almost concluding. Thanks everyone for joining. We are concluding for today. Share your thoughts on our Halam International Educators Facebook page. Our next discussion is really interesting and it is coming soon. Parents, educators, and students are invited. The topic is digital addiction. So see you all next week. Until then, take care. Bye. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Helen. Bye, Samantha. Take
Bye
care,
bye.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.